Hey there, people of the internet. We're going to do a review of the relatively new movie, The Bride. And this is going to be a Satanic film review. So you're either going to love that or be titillated by it or scandalized by it or whatever. All right. So when I first saw the trailer for The Bride, I believe it's just came out, so it's a 2026 film, right? But for all I know, it could have been filmed a year ago or two and have a different date. But anyway, the new movie, The Bride. I was cautiously optimistic about its cinematic potential. Then I encountered a couple of discouraging reviews castigating it as yet another superfluous installment of girl boss propaganda disguised as a reboot of the classic horror film Bride of Frankenstein, 1935, right? All right. So, admittedly, I'm inclined to not entirely hate, I should say, thematic deviations so long as a modicum of devotion to the spirit of the genre is maintained amid a self indulgent literary license. So, with due hubbub tethering the bride to Bride of Frankenstein, of Mary Shelley's contribution to 19th century literary Satanism, um, I threw caution to the wind and said, "Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot and watch it with the wife, right?" So, written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal, I believe that's the way you pronounce her last name, an actress renowned for her roles in movies like Donnie Darko in 2001, Secretary in 2002, which is a fantastic BDSM film based on a short story by the same title in, gosh darn it, I should have pulled it off the shelf. It's around here somewhere. I have the books around here somewhere. It's over on this side too, but okay. I should have pulled it off ahead of time. I apologize. Anyway, great short story, great film, 2002. And The Dark Knight in the Batman franchise in 2008. So, based on that, at least to a degree, I had hoped that she was more interested in Gothic culture than the contemporaneous culture war. Now, I'm pretty gung ho about the culture war myself on my side of the scrimmage line. But generally speaking, almost exclusively speaking, I'd rather keep all that stuff out of our entertainment. Unless it's the rare piece of art or film or song, I'd rather just be entertained by my entertainment. So, not that I want it to be mindless. I'm not saying that at all. I do want it to be thought provoking, but I want it to focus on entertainment versus social division. Rah rah for my team or your team or anyone else's team. So, okay. Anywho, I was hoping that she'd be more about the gothic aspect of it than the dark aesthetic aspect of it, the Nietzschean aspect of it than the culture war aspect of it. So, okay. In short, I enjoyed the movie, and I hope the cliffhanger at the end develops into an equally good and preferably even better sequel. Yes, there is a smidgen of nonsensical modern woman and even hashtag MeToo claptrap in the flick, but mercifully, little of it. When the bride inspires hordes of other fictional women to model their fashion sense and sensibilities for social revolt, and after her own, the bride's satanic aesthetic terrorism and nihilistic iteration of justice, male audience members may disproportionately err to lump that plot development in with the dung piles of misandrous celluloid contemporaneously smeared upon the big and small screens. Undeniably, there may even be a measure of intent to portray such drivel in that particular vignette in that manner. That may well be there. Nevertheless, a broader view reasonably juxtaposes that storyline alongside the likes of the Joker. So in the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, the men in the movie get all gung ho and hoot and holler and all that kind of thing, and it's not misogyny as so many outlets wanted to portray it as. I would say misportray it as. So just as that's not misogyny, this is not inherently misandry, and it's just okay. It is what it is. Certainly, there are pros and cons to the social roles of both men and women, and it is only true to life that our fiction, filmed or otherwise represented, mirrors those triumphs, tribulations, celebrations, grievances, unifying camaraderie, and acts of retribution, like so much else in art and life itself. Context matters. So that's what I was trying to say. That's what I was trying to tell you, people. Were you listening? I was trying to tell you. Okay. If a sequel does grace the silver screen, true fans can only hope that the filmmakers responsible for it shall jettison the dead weight of pallid social commentary and focus strictly upon Mary Shelley's vision for her novel's antihero and his eventual bride, conjured by the metaphorical magic wand that is Hollywood. Esoteric pun, most definitely intended. Did you get the joke? Also worthy of deeper attention is the uber-romantic love story uniting our reanimated couple of undead quantum entanglement. Did you get that too? I know. It's an acquired taste. So I'm a snob. What can I say? But I'm trying to appeal to other snobs, so for all you hoi polloi, go take a flying leap. All right. It was that very theme that gives rise to the possibility of a sequel, as well as the origin story of The Bride of Frankenstein itself. It is a tale of amour, as gothic and epic as that of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Literally, I stand by that. Here, our circumstantial anti-hero and anti-heroine find that they are not only objects of romantic sympathy by other empathetic lovers, as well as the unintended icons of revolutionary social change, but that they love one another beyond the restraints of death itself. So, hardly an incel or femcel kind of thing. It's a love story, people. As I said, they love one another beyond the restraints of death itself. As the film appears to be the film industry appears to be learning at the moment, hopefully, audiences almost exclusively yearn for and pay to vicariously experience such tried and true hero journeys rather than desire and patronize plots that exceed the suspension of disbelief and instead demand that the viewer suspend their own archetypal longings and values. Come on, people. The people want bread and circuses? Give them bread and circuses, damn it. Okay. In addition to the odyssey of their epic love story is the topic of sardonic humor. Of course, Anton LaVey, the late author of the Satanic Bible, I put it back on the shelf. Okay. Routinely said that a Satanist without a black sense of humor would be an intolerable individual. I heartily concur. Hence, the movie embraces its responsibility toward dark comedy without resorting to parody like the lovable spoof Young Frankenstein. Still, fans of Mel Brooks' timeless horror comedy from 1974 will enjoy our dancing cadavers, especially to Irving Berlin's ditty, Puttin' on the Ritz. Additionally, the choreography itself is reminiscent enough of the iconic dance scene in Season 1 of the Netflix original Wednesday that Addams Family fans, such as myself, will likewise appreciate the facially apparent homage to the recent streaming series starring Jenna Ortega in the titular role. I hear it pronounced both ways, so I guess it probably depends on what part of the world you come from. So, because titular, titler, title. So, moreover, or is it schedule or schedule? Moreover, tomato, tomato, right? Moreover, the tip of that allegorical top hat distinguishes itself from the other choreography that briefly manifested as a viral internet dance craze. Wasn't that a lot of fun? From grown women to little girls dancing with big screen TVs in the background showing that their choreography was perfectly matching Jenna Ortega's, to ice skaters and figure skaters and other athletic. I saw other athletic stuff and dance competitions and just all kinds of stuff. I mean, like I say, figure skaters. That I thought that was super cool. We're incorporating the Wednesday dance routine into just whether fun mimicry for YouTube or as a professional showcase. So, pretty cool. Other elements of comedy, tragedy, romance, and action characteristics of The Bride duly reflect attributes from the annals of nonfiction history as well as the foundational plot outlines established by Homer's epic poetry, the plays of ancient Greece, and the bard William Shakespeare. One obvious nonfiction parallel is to that of the notorious gangster couple depicted repeatedly within pop culture, Bonnie and Clyde, a fact that seemed fairly obvious to me, starting with The Bride's original trailer. Returning to the issue of Mary Shelley's initial vision for her infamous creature, we must recognize its Darwinian, Nietzschean, and thus Luciferian importance. Scholars of literary Satanism and/or contemporary religious Satanism consistently highlight the archetypal association between the mythic Greek antihero Prometheus and the Miltonic antihero, respectively known as Satan and Lucifer, because Lucifer is the bearer of enlightenment and Satan is his shadow, his Jungian shadow, of course. At least that is one of many interpretations of that conjoined twin that is Lucifer, Satan. Anton LaVey himself many times confirmed this thematic association between Prometheus and Satan, Prometheus and Lucifer, in print and on camera, and his second authorized biographer, Blanche Barton, even named Chapter 3 in her book, The Church of Satan. Okay. All right. A book that I didn't forget to take off the shelf. The third chapter in that book is titled, appropriately enough, The Modern Prometheus, as an overt tribute to Mary Shelley's novel. Well, this copy just says Frankenstein, unless we turn one whole page in to this little bit of a history on Mary Shelley and Frankenstein itself. So the actual title of this in 1818 is Frankenstein, or The Modern Prometheus. So, there you go. Indeed, John Milton's depiction of the satanic Lucifer in his epic poem Paradise Lost, once again, well, here's one copy of it. I can probably reach this. I apologize. I should have grabbed it off the shelf. So I have a nicer hardback cover copy over there, but this is the one I've actually highlighted the most in. So Milton's depiction of the satanic Lucifer in his epic poem Paradise Lost in 1667 is credited with almost single-handedly inspiring what Robert Southey denounced in his poem A Vision of Judgment in 1821 as the Satanic School of Poetry. Notably, that Satanic School, for short, was spearheaded among its collective writers and other artisans of the day by the literary giants Lord Byron, William Blake, Victor Hugo, and Mary Shelley's very own husband, Percy Shelley. Alas, none should clutch their pearls over the various Miltonian paraphrases found in Mary's topically relevant seminal work. And I have works by all of those that I just listed, and I didn't pull them off the shelf because it's a large body of work. I mean, I have some compendiums, like a beautiful, beautiful, complete, illuminated collection of William Blake's work right there. It's just, I have it facing me. It's just gorgeous. That being the case, it's those four are sort of like the four horsemen of the apocalypse, or the four crown princes of hell, the four guardians of the watchtowers, that kind of thing, of the Satanic School movement. So, the child of William Godwin and Mary Wollstonecraft, the latter whom died only days after the birth of their daughter, Mary Shelley's father is credited as an early voice in the overarching genre known as 18th and 19th century literary Satanism. Now, yep, I did take this down off the shelf. This is Mary Shelley's father wrote this and is sort of a seminal work. So recent satanic scholarship is found within titles like The Devil's Party and The Invention of Satanism. See, there's The Devil's Party and there's The Invention of Satanism. um, have found that, within those titles, they even relevantly not only reference William Godwin, but they quote from that particular title, which is, again, I think I skipped over that, an inquiry concerning political justice. And obviously it remains in print, so there we go. Having learned to trod the road less traveled upon metaphorical cloven hoofs with such a patriarch holding her hand, it is less than shocking to learn that one of her father's mentees, the celebrated poet Percy Shelley, eventually eloped with his mentor's 16-year-old daughter. Ooh, clutch your pearls now. Can we cancel someone who's been dead so long? People certainly try. Traversing the literary left-hand path, the amorous couple forged a unique path as key figures within what is now commonly referred to by etic, that is outsider academics, and emic, that is insider adherents of contemporary religious Satanism, as literary Satanism. Embroiled within a satanic milieu, steeped within a tumultuous tableau of political change in a conjoined bohemian brand of blasphemously avant-garde artistic expression, the Shelleys were definitely representatives of their zeitgeist. Ergo, there is no doubt over the assertions about their respective support for matters of culturally defined women's liberation. It's not that women's liberation doesn't exist. I'm not being snarky. I'm just simply saying what it meant in that era may not and does not mean what it means in the current era. So we must be mindful of those cycles of time and changes within society and the mores of the people of that place and time. All right, then. So, as such, we can map a measure of such satanic feminism. Excellent book. All of these books are excellent books. But we can map a measure of such satanic feminism onto the 2026 film at issue. That is, so long as we diligently remain cognizant of the left-hand path milieu, plural, that defined Mary's relationship with her father, her husband, her male peers, and her social circle of libertines that were espousing free love, sex-based socioeconomic equality, and the archetypal Luciferian Satan of Milton as the conjured egregore emblematic of their highest personal and collective ideal of sovereign autonomy, described politically as, in a word, freedom. Or, excuse me, should we say freedom? So, arguably, there are such glimmers of Mary Shelley's true legacy in The Bride. Remember, we're doing a review of the 2026 film. So there are certainly glimmers of that foundation there, absolutely. Hopefully, should it ever lead to a sequel, the would-be conjurers of movie magic will lean away from the pedantic simulacra of a women's lib through line and instead lean very decisively into the anti-heroine's authentic satanic feminism, which was by no means an instantiation of misandry, but rather a dynamic partnership in sex-based shadow work as illuminated and individuated, not individualized or individual, although it's a very thin line there, but in terms of Jungian psychology, the individuated shadow work, Jungian shadow work, the integration of the shadow as initiates. So, that being said, I'd love to see a sequel because it ended on a cliffhanger, as I said, that permits a sequel. And I'd love to see it focus on the Promethean focus that was the impetus behind Mary Shelley's original novel, and I would love to see it focus on that and the love story, which extends far beyond death for these two. Um, and then if we can have that as a movie viewing audience, I think we'll have really quite an entertaining blockbuster of anti hero rooting for the Darth Vader, rooting for the gangster, rooting for the quote unquote bad guy sort of sequel. And so, in layman's terms, in plain English, I liked the movie. It was pretty good. It didn't beat me over the head with a bunch of feminazi nonsense, woke nonsense. It had very little of that kind of thing, and mostly it just leaned into, a pretty dark sort of love story of what you would expect from, Frankenstein's creature and the bride of the creature. So because remember, Frankenstein is actually the doctor, not the creature. So, but colloquially, Frankenstein. Good movie. I enjoyed it. Now, the wife and I went yesterday and we saw Backrooms. I'm tugging along with myself about whether or not I want to do a review of that. I have a lot to say. I have a lot of interesting things to say that I could piece together with just a few minutes or so of research. But I haven't come to a conclusion about that. This was much more in my wheelhouse because of the obvious satanic historical nature of the subject matter. The other one is more about physics and time and the illusion of space-time, the illusion of reality, the Maya, the Matrix, and I certainly have a lot to say about that from a satanic worldview, but I haven't decided yet. I will say this, though. I was excited to see The Bride. I was excited to see Backrooms, and neither one of them failed me, so jolly good show. Jolly good show. All right, people of the internet. Have a good Sunday. See you later.